looking at the bigger picture now, in trying to forge ahead, what should the states be doing, especially the Middle Belt states, looking at Niger State, Plateau State, Nasarawa State, Benue State, Kogi State inclusive? What do you think those governors should be doing now, just to ensure that tomorrow or later this evening we don't record attacks again?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, the Middle Belt states, as you all know, are the breadbasket of this country. And like I said, any foreign power, any international conspirators that want to destroy Nigeria, they would not look further than the Middle Belt, because they are also the bridge that links the north to the south. They produce most of the food in this country. So they need to come together. They have a common interest in prospering their agricultural and their agrarian sectors. And we have this problem on our hands. They need to talk to each other constructively. When I say that there are people who don't have brains, I'm not being, you know, political or anything. You know, some of them even said that, oh, you know, the Fulanis came from Mali, we went there, found them, and paid them money. Look, people that talk this kind of talk, they are very irresponsible. And I'm not a politician, I'm an economist, but I have no time for people who don't use their common intelligence that God has given them. And they talk very wild talk. And thousands of people are dying. And they are using their political agendas to address issues. These are issues of humanity. These are issues of humanity. Every single life, whether it is a Fulani life or it's a peasant Middle Belt life that is lost, it pains me personally. It pains me personally. And if our leaders play politics with those issues, then I'm sorry, I have no time for them.
What's a North Central Development Commission?
Well, you know, there's this talk about development commissions as if a development commission solves most of the problems. NDDC is a development commission. I'm sorry to say the money that comes into NDDC annually does not reflect an actual impact on ordinary people of the Niger Delta. So sometimes I'm very skeptical of, you know, this development commission's business. We have a very big problem. We need a comprehensive approach. It is not just a development commission solution. It is a political issue. It is an issue of demographics. It is an issue of the responsibility of government, the exercise of authority. We need to look at those issues together. So let there be a coalition of Middle Belt governors, for example, even northern governors that will sit together and talk. There are even suspicions in that some people, even in the far north, have an agenda. Because where are these Fulanis getting these very sophisticated weapons, including rocket launchers? Where are they getting them from? And why is there so much venom in the killings? The scale and the character of these killings are unprecedented. And it looks as if our politicians also have hidden agendas. They are working with international forces with hidden agendas to undermine this country and to destroy our country eventually. Because this thing can destroy our country if we are not careful. Therefore, we need people of honor, people of integrity, people who fear the Lord, to sit together and talk openly and frankly. It is in our common interest that there is happiness, there is peace, there is prosperity in our rural sector, because this is where the majority of our people live. Our farmers are not looking for much. There's not much we do for them. They want peace, they want to be able to go to their farms, they want to see that they can provide for their children, and so on, and their families. That is all they're asking us. And we can't give them even that.
Mr. Mailafia, let's look at that back again, that part of pursuing peace. There's been this suggestion of, even if we're going to pursue the anti-open grazing bill across the different states of the Middle Belt or across the country, there will be a need to donate land so that this pastoralists can can take their cattle there and stay there. Do you think that can be a solution where the government, state government, families, individuals can donate land and say, you know what, stay here so that there's no problem, just in a bid to find some level of peace?
Look, There is nothing wrong with doing that. And at the end of the day, some space must be created. But you see, you cannot create a space for an armed militia. That is to do so under duress. And it will not work. It will be a piece of the graveyard. You have to disarm all these bandits. You need to build confidence in the local communities. You need to establish systems of dialogue, of intercommunal dialogue. And let us restore the understanding that prevailed before. Look, in my ancestral homeland, the Fulanis and the local communities have lived together for centuries. They've intermarried. In fact, the local Fulanis, they speak my native language. So it's been a very peaceful relationship, and this is the way it ought to be. So yes, we need to create space for the Fulanis and even try to settle some of them. If ranching is the way, so be it, but we need to create the space for them. And they themselves need to understand that that lifestyle that they have enjoyed, if I may use the word enjoyed, since time immemorial, since the time of their ancestors, that way of life is no longer sustainable. And they would also have to change. They would also have to send their children to school. They have to settle their community, in any community of their choice. But they must be Nigerian Fulanis. I said earlier that Nigeria constitutionally is not responsible for all the Fulanis in the world. Any Fulani that can come from Ethiopia, from Mali, from everywhere, the next day he's demanding absolute rights in this country. There is nowhere in the Constitution of the African Union or the ECOWAS protocol that says that Nigeria is responsible for all the Fulanis in the world. Nigeria is responsible for only Nigerian Fulanis. Those of them who don't have the bona fides to reside in this country by law should actually, stay here temporarily and go back to wherever they came from. We should identify who are Nigerian Fulanis, and our constitutional responsibility is to the Nigerian citizens, not to the citizens of the whole of West Africa. So, yes, create land for them, but you cannot do it sustainably unless there is confidence building. The tempers cool down, and people talk together, and you disarm the militias, because these have become militias. Many of them are no longer Fulanis, they are militias. And if you think local communities can live peacefully with armed militias who in the past have killed them on such a staggering scale, then we are being very naive. So we can only do so in the context of a guaranteed peace and mutual respect and mutual understanding and mutual appreciation.
Mr. Bailafia, it is believed that the discussion that only Nigerians can solve Nigerian problems and only Africans can solve the African problem. And if you look at that and put it on the one side and compare it to what your submissions are, that there seems to be a conspiracy, especially from superpowers, against Nigeria and indeed the African continent. What would you be telling the AU and ECOWAS, for instance, to try to see that we address the issue of how we begin to manage our cattle in Africa?
Well, there's a lot of cattle ranching, cattle rearers. The Karamojong in Uganda, this other group in Kenya, they're the same tribe anyway, in Rwanda, Burundi. There are cattle rearers everywhere. And occasionally there are skirmishes with local peasants. Don't get me wrong. This is all part of living together in a community. But those countries don't have the kind of problems we have. We have Fulanis all over West Africa, but I don't think there's any country where this scale of killing is taking place, except in Nigeria. That is why I think that world powers know something about it. They have become very sophisticated. They are not going to come in gunboats like they did in colonial times and shoot their way to occupy our countries. They are very afraid of Nigeria. Let me tell you, Nigeria is a potential world power. In about 40 years, our population will be more than that of the United States. We have natural resources, we have intelligent people, we have enterprising, entrepreneurial people, our students everywhere in the world are the best. So the world powers know that if you give this country a chance, it will be a world power. So they want to undermine us, they want to destroy us. And the only reason why I believe this is the case is that they are refusing to talk. I have approached some of them. Please, let's just even hold a seminar. Organize something. Let us discuss this issue. It is bigger than the Boko Haram issue. All of them refuse, with no explanation. So that leads me to believe that they have a hidden agenda against our country, against our people. Look, I'm not getting very personal. Last year I lost my cousin. She was just around 32 years of age with her 3 children in Godogodo here. In southern Kaduna, they came and slaughtered her. The husband managed to escape, but they just slaughtered her and her children. And you expect me to be happy with that? Of course I'm not. So there's a humanitarian tragedy. The international community that likes to talk on everything, they have refused to talk. And I'm accusing them of a lack of conscience and of a tacit conspiracy in the silent quest to destroy our country. This is what it is. So, well, God has placed us here. God has given us education. He has given us knowledge. He has put courage in our hearts. Nobody's going to salvage Nigeria for us. We have to do it ourselves. We have to do it ourselves. If thousands of people, defenseless peasants, Nelson Mandela called them an unarmed and defenseless people, being slaughtered on this scale, and people are quiet, then it is a crime against humanity.
Mr. Obadia Melafia, I want to thank you so much indeed for talking to us. Your submission is very, very potent indeed. A development economist and former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you so much indeed for talking to us on Sunrise Daily.